Hello and welcome to Monday's Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Coming up on the programme this evening.
Ava was just 12 years old. A court's told a 14-year-old boy laughed as he ran away after stabbing her to death in Liverpool city centre.
Here we go again. More massive queues at Manchester Airport. The airport says it's sorry, little consolation to the travellers who missed their flights.
There was just a queue outside the Terminal 1 building, which I've never seen before. I've never seen, queues outside of the actual security area.
As we start Mental Health Awareness Week, how a friendly face and a bit of understanding made all the difference to Alan and Pat.
What finer garden could there stand on all of England's pleasant land?
He's the poet of the putting green. How a beautiful Cheshire golf course moved one of its members to celebrate 100 years of golf.
And it wasn't quite as warm today as yesterday. We definitely had more cloud and stronger winds. Full forecast for the rest of the week coming up shortly.
Well, first, there were emotional scenes in court as the family of Ava White heard a 14-year-old boy laughed and then ran away after fatally stabbing her.
Ava was 12 when she died. She'd been out with her friends watching the Christmas lights switch on in Liverpool last November. The court heard a chance encounter had become violent because Ava had objected to being filmed without her permission.
The teenager, who appeared via video link, denies murder. Our correspondent Rob Smith has been in court today, and Rob, Ava's family heard some very distressing details of her final moments.
Yeah, Ava's loved ones wept in this courtroom today as they watched what jurors watched on the first day of this trial. CCTV footage, which the prosecution say shows the moment that teenage boy stabbed Ava and then, in their words, laughed and left her to die. The schoolgirl was in the city that night with friends. The court heard dancing, singing. They were all messing about, having a good time. And then they were approached by a group, including the teenage boy. Now, he's 14 years old. He can't be identified for legal reasons. We're referring to him as Boy A. The prosecution case is that he filmed Ava on his mobile phone in the street without her permission, and she was not happy about that. She and her friends said that they were kids, they shouldn't be filmed. She insisted she wanted that footage deleted, and then jurors were told there was a confrontation between Ava and Boy A in which there was some shoving. His response was to pull out a knife they were told he admits having, and stab her in the neck. Ava died from catastrophic blood loss. Now, the prosecution said to the courtroom that Boy A then tried to cover up what had happened, a conscious cover-up, as it was described. He got rid of the knife, he told a series of lies to police, even tried to blame the stabbing on someone who didn't even exist, and now the prosecution says he claims he acted in self-defence. Boy A is attending this trial via video link. Well, there are a number of changes that have been made to the court process because of the ages of those involved in this case, including many child witnesses. He denies both murder and an alternative charge of manslaughter. This trial is due to last for 3 weeks.
OK, Rob, thank you.
And of course, we'll be following developments there. Well, now to Manchester Airport, who are assuring us that they're working as hard as they can to deal with the problem of long delays. But there has been more chaos there today.
Yeah, there certainly has. Some people have even reported missing their flights because of huge queues. Our reporter Tim Scott's at the airport now.
Yeah, Tim, you've been speaking to some of the people affected.
Yes, Lucy, well, more misery and more queues here at Manchester Airport today, with more passengers desperately scrabbling to get through security and onto their flights on time. These pictures were taken today, and as you can see, the huge line of passengers is that long, it's actually snaking right out of the terminal building. I spoke to frequent flyer Ryan Hoey, and he told me he'd never seen things quite as bad as this.
There was just a queue outside the Terminal 1 building, which I've never seen before. I've never seen, queues outside of the actual security area.
Yeah.
So it just took forever to get through, basically. The mood of some of those who were anxious about missing the flights, was quite angry. So yeah, not a great atmosphere to be working in.
I also spoke to Mike Knowles, who's from Lee. He missed his flight to Spain today, where he was supposed to be working, after it took him over 3 hours to clear security.
I noticed a couple of people crying, were on their own, sort of ladies on their own. There were elderly, there was Italian, Spanish, USA people all getting animated. You had the staff doing the best that they could, but it got to the point where the staff were saying they couldn't prioritise anyone because everybody was a priority. So at that point, it's just an absolute melee.
Yeah, Tim, I guess what's going on will be surprising to many because this comes only days after the airport announced what it called a positive update on the situation.
Yes, Gamal, around a week ago they told us they'd take on an extra staff and things were supposed to be getting better. Today, though, they admitted that high levels of staff absence contributed and caused those queues this morning. In a statement, they told us, "We do all we can to minimise disruption and prioritise customers wherever possible to ensure they make their flights. We've also taken the decision to make use of part of Terminal 1's car park in order to effectively manage queues and minimise congestion within the terminal itself." But many people are now asking, if things don't improve here, what's it going to be like in a couple of months' time when the summer season really gets underway? Back to the studio.
OK, Tim, many thanks indeed. Well, in other news today, and a 43-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a man fell from a window in Liverpool. Emergency services were called to the house on Longmore Lane just before 10 o'clock last night. A man in his 40s was taken to hospital but later died. A murder investigation has been launched.
Some good news from the Baftas that recognise the best of British television and film. There were two big winners from the North West. Coronation Street won Best Soap, which was accepted by Sally Dynevor, who of course plays Sally Webster. And Liverpool's Jodie Comer won Leading Actress for her role in the TV film Help that was set in a care home during the COVID outbreak.
Yeah, many congratulations to all those winners. Well, next tonight, why older people are being encouraged to ditch the stiff upper lip approach to mental ill health.
Depression is often a hidden illness, and you may not realise that someone is suffering, even if you see them every day. And older people, probably more than any other age group, are likely to make light of how they feel and dismiss their condition as a bit of the blues or being a bit down in the dumps.
In the first of a series of reports to mark Mental Health Awareness Week, we hear from pensioners Alan and Pat. This report from Anna Yosef.
I need plenty of towels. Don't need me swimming trunks this time, so you can take them out.
Alan's looking forward to a trip away with family. A couple of months ago, he was contemplating suicide. Paralysed from the neck down with multiple sclerosis, he felt his life was over.
There was nowhere to go. I couldn't do anything. So I just wanted an out. I just don't want to go on.
Alan's GP referred him to a psychology service which provides support for older people. Helped by his mental health nurse Dorinda, the 76-year-old started writing his life story.
The writing of this book has probably been the big thing. Purely because it's nice, instead of lying there talking to nobody or talking to a ceiling, a regular weekly conversation with somebody. You look forward to it.
It was very obvious that he was really, really fed up. You were really fed up with your life, weren't you, as it was? Using that technique and telling life stories, it gives that chance for that person to, like you said, recall memories and also think about, like, that story hasn't ended. Let's move it forward, let's, work on that. And it can be quite cathartic to talk and have somebody to listen.
She has helped me to remember things in my life that I'd forgotten, and it really has helped me to look forward to doing things again, which at the start of when we started, I didn't really, as I say, I didn't want to go on, and it's made me want to see what the next chapter is, because there's going to be a next chapter.
1 in 4 people over 65 experience depression, but fewer than 1 in 6 seek help from their GP, and less than 7% of referrals for psychological therapy are for older people. That's something this service in Salford is trying to change.
I think there can be, amongst health professionals and GPs, that misconception really that becoming depressed is a natural part of ageing, and that belief that actually older people may not benefit from psychological therapies. And also there is it tends to be more of a focus on their physical health, so often mental health difficulties can be overlooked.
Pat's son Kevin died from COVID a year ago. For months, the 77-year-old could barely get out of bed.
I just wanted to go in the grave with him. I didn't see any point to anything when that happened.
How bad did things get for you?
I've never wanted to take my own life, ever. But you get close to that. Is anything worth it anymore? You battle with yourself all the time, and it gets hard some days.
Talking to a therapist has helped Pat process her feelings.
In my hour session, I can scream, swear, sing, don't talk at all, rabbit on, whatever way I want that hour to go. I think they've saved me, which I don't know for how long, but I'm here and I'm trying to do my best.
Pat says she's learning to live with her grief and starting to look to the future.
Well, Anna's with us now. Anna, why is there this reluctance still among older people to get help for their mental health?
Well, the mental health professionals that I've spoken to say for a lot of people in their 70s, 80s or older, there can still be a stigma attached to mental illness. Their life experience may have taught them it's better to keep a stiff upper lip no matter how miserable you're feeling. And sometimes, it can be easier to talk about physical ailments than complex and confusing emotions. You saw Alan in my story there. He told me he would lie in bed and think about the ways he could end his life. He'd reached absolute rock bottom. But for both Alan and Pat, the turning point was asking for help and having therapy. Talking about your feelings can be an important first step to actually feeling better.
Yeah, and I'm guessing access to mental health services can also be an issue, can't it?
That's right. Research shows that younger people are usually directed to talking therapies, but it's more common for older people to be prescribed medication by their GPs. Older people have traditionally been under-referred for therapy, even though the evidence shows it really works. We heard from the clinical psychologist in my story there. Depression shouldn't be seen as a normal part of the ageing process, and we need to challenge the assumption that it's something older people should just put up with. Depression, isolation and loneliness have all been linked to physical health problems. So getting support through a talking therapist can be good for your mind and body.
Yeah, really good advice, Anna. Thank you very much indeed for that. Let's hope that message gets through loud and clear. Thank you. Such an important issue. OK, now let's take a look at what's coming up on the ITV News at 6:30 with Charlene.
Fairy tales and fascism. Putin attempts to justify invading Ukraine by saying the West provoked the attack. While on Russia's Victory Day, we've been filming on the front line.
So they've rushed all of us into one of the dugouts here because of the danger of incoming Russian artillery. Outgoing fire attracts incoming.
So Keir Starmer says he'll step down if he's fined by police for breaking COVID rules, and
I think it's going to be difficult. Another dig deep. It's not going to be.
The celebrities being put through their paces in the games with some familiar faces. Join us for those stories and so much more from 6:30.
Well, next, 2 warnings that the pandemic and the rising cost of living could end up putting the lives of children at risk by denying them the chance to learn to swim.
That warning comes from the former Olympic medalist Steve Parry, as new figures show 1 in 3 children don't know how to swim, and that more than a third of children missed out on swimming lessons when the pandemic hit.
Well, I spoke to Steve when he dropped by earlier. He told me that his first time in the water was far from positive.
Yeah, I mean, my first experience as swimming was quite a scary one, actually. I was on a barge holiday down on the Thames. We never went abroad for our holiday. It was always caravans or something else. And anyway, I fell in the water. Cut a long story short, I fell in the water. That was quite a scary experience for my parents. And that was the reason that they got me into swimming in the first place.
So did your parents instigate it, or was it something that, you know, that was innate inside you that you wanted to do?
Oh, my parents were fab. You know, being a father now, it makes me even more grateful for them, because they took time out to give me every opportunity that there was, you know, playing all sorts of sports, trying swimming. I was even in a choir, all the rest of it. And, you know, then children find their old passions, don't they? And I really got into swimming, and that was the thing that I was really passionate about and wanted to go to the Olympics.
How important is swimming as a life skill for a young person?
You know, I'd go as far to say that it's a human right for all of our children. You know, it's a life skill, and there is risks that come with not being able to swim. I mean, there are almost a drowning a day in this country, and we've seen again another year that the drowning statistics have gone up another 10%. So for me, there's a reason it's on the national curriculum. There's a reason that schools believe all children should be able to swim, and that's because it is a life skill.
Yeah, I mean, here at Granada Reports, we've reported on a number of cases over the last year of young people finding themselves in difficulty in the water, sadly losing their lives in a number of cases. I guess in many ways that focuses the mind.
You know, swimming's fun. We don't want to put people off swimming, but you know, we're going into, you know, probably what's going to be a warm May, and it's going to look inviting to dive into lakes or rivers, but people don't realise how cold it is. So you've just got to be aware of that as well.
Are you worried that, given the current climate with the cost of living crisis that we are currently in and will continue for a number of months ahead of us, parents may feel that they've got no other option but to step back from giving their kids swimming lessons because of the cost? They simply can't afford it.
Well, the costs are a real issue. We've already seen a decrease in leisure centres of 5% across the country during the pandemic. But I think that rate of closures will continue, simply because the cost of running these buildings is too expensive. So there's going to be less swimming pools, but as you point out, there's also less money going around.
And for somebody like yourself who got into trouble 20 years ago, where you could have lost your life, given what you're hearing, given the figures that we're seeing, that must be extremely alarming for you.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the problem's only going to get worse. So, you know, I don't want to stick this at school doors either, but it's really important that children do get some swimming activity in school. Last year in primary schools, a third of our children left primary school unable to swim, and it's a national curriculum standard.
Steve Parry, many thanks indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve Parry talking to me earlier on, a thoroughly nice chap. On to sport now, and we start tonight with celebrations in Rugby League. Mike.
Yeah, we'll come to all the football and the title race in just a moment, but let's kick things off with the latest piece of silverware heading back to the northwest. A huge congratulations to St Helens women, who lifted the Challenge Cup over the weekend. And we can now hear from one of the Saints' heroes. David Chisnall is in St Helens alongside her.
Yes, that is the Women's Challenge Cup trophy, and it is in the hands of Jodie Cunningham. Victorious with St Helens at the weekend, try scorer as well. So how does it feel to have that back in the hands as well? Second year in a row.
Yeah, we weren't up for letting it go easy. We knew it was going to be a really tough game. We loved every minute, but Leeds took us all the way, and yeah, really fortunate we ended up coming out on top, and really glad to have this back in our... Easy anyway, not through choice. I'm sure there's going to be lots of teams coming after, you know, the Women's Super League trophy, but luckily we've got this for another year, and we're going to do our very best to lift the rest as well.
Well, you mentioned the Super League trophy. This is the brand new Super League trophy for the new season of the Women's Super League, which kicks off this weekend, and a nice tasty encounter, a local rivalry, St Helens against Wigan as well. Georgia, you're from Wigan. I mean, come on, what are you going to do to stop these guys?
Well, obviously Saints is going to be a tough test, so we've not really got any pressure on us. We've just got to go out there and try and do our job and do everything we've been practicing in training.
And the game's being played here as well. What does that mean, getting Women's Rugby League in big stadiums?
It's amazing, yeah. I mean, the Challenge Cup final on Saturday was absolutely incredible to watch, and I'm hoping that other people tuned in to watch it that have never seen it before. It'd be nice to see more games on big channels and on TV, in big stadiums as well, and hopefully start to get some more supporters down as well.
And of course it's branching out. We've got some new teams in Super League as well this year. Warrington Wolves, we've got to mention them, but also Barrow and Lee now joining the big time. Vanessa, how big is that for Barrow?
Oh, I mean, the girls are really excited. They're ready to step up and, give it a good go. I mean, it is a big step up as well from the Championship up to the Super League. But I really think, as a team, they just bond so well, and hopefully they can, give some other teams a good run for the money.
Good luck this season. Of course, it is the Women's World Cup as well as the men's and the wheelchair teams as well. Jodie, I mean, how important is this to have a good women's season going into that World Cup as well?
I think it's the most important season there's ever been for the women. The opportunities that we've got to put Women's Rugby League on the map is massive, and this World Cup's going to be the pinnacle of that at the end of the year. So we need to make sure we prepare really well. We have really healthy competition, lots of competitive games, so that England are best placed to do the business when it comes to the end of the year. But really exciting time for Women's Rugby League.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for that. Of course, we have to remain neutral, so we don't mind who wins this Super League trophy, but we don't have to be neutral when it comes to the World Cup. Let's hope that can help us win the World Cup as well.
Finally to cycling, and another brilliant win for the Manx Missile. Mark Cavendish sprinted to victory in stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia yesterday. It was the Isle of Man hero's 16th career stage win in the event. It came the day after Bury's Simon Yates won the stage 2 time trial. Today is a rest day, but they will both be back in action tomorrow. And that is your sport this evening.
How good is that? Great news for cycling. Mike, thank you very much. Well, we're staying with sport, really, because next night we're off to the beautiful rolling countryside of Cheshire, where a golfer by the name of John Hunter has been moved to create a very special piece of poetry. It's to mark the centenary of Asprey Golf Club.
Yeah, most golfers are more likely to be muttering about a putt they missed or the bad weather conditions. But John is a man who likes to look on the bright side and has been waxing lyrical, as Paul Crone's been finding out.
What finer garden could there stand on all of England's pleasant land, or wistful waterway divide from which its lazy lawns be spied? What rolling pasture could surpass by grander views or greener grass?
John Hunter, golfer and now bard of the bunkers. His love of Asprey Golf Course near Congleton has driven him to pen a poem extolling the virtues of the Cheshire Club to celebrate its centenary.
These placid pools and gentle slopes that bear our secret dreams and hopes. It's a lovely course. I have never ever regretted joining Asprey. It's such a beautiful surrounding. It's very peaceful, and of course as a golfer it's a high quality course.
His musings now have pride of place in the clubhouse, where the 800 men and women members can read to relax after a successful 18 holes or hopes for a better day on the course.
To my knowledge, John is unique. There's only the Queen that has her own poet, and we've got our own poet too. So we're up there with the royalty, we think.
I've accumulated a collection over quite a few years. And I got to the point where I thought, well, really, these are just sitting in a manuscript on a shelf, so let's get them published. And I just did that with my book.
72-year-old John's poem is proving a hit with members, and the odd miss-putt is all part and parcel of playing at Asprey.
Well, judging on today's game, the poetry wins by a country mile.
And perhaps John could put pen to paper to recall my finest golfing moment at the Belfry. That's right, the Belfry. Not too shabby with a putter, eh? But back in Cheshire.
And what adventure might await where Lady Luck or twist of fate might sway the final fateful roll and win the day or lose it all? So as great and graceful have before, would that I forevermore, still young at heart, though old and grey, be wandering its wonderful and winding way.
Paul Crone, ITV News.
Yeah, so moving. John Hunter there, waxing lyrical, and well done to our cameraman Simon Higginbottom for those lovely shots there as well. I think a lot of people are moved to poetry by golf, but perhaps not quite so polite.
You're a bit of a keen golfer yourself.
No, nothing like that. Not in John's league. It's quite annoying, actually. Good games, good water spoiled, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, is there anything lovely to come in the weather? Here is Kerry with the details.
Now that is brew weather. And only boiling what she needs.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Big up you, sis.
Hello, very good evening to you. Going downhill today from the northwest after a fairly dry and bright start with some decent temperatures. Finn not looking particularly enamoured by his wildflower walk first thing this morning. Maybe he knew that the pollen was high across the region, and it will be high later on this week as well as temperatures increase towards the weekend. For today, we've been looking to the northwest for thicker cloud amounts and outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of the Isle of Man and Cumbria, and will continue to journey south and eastwards over the next few hours or so. So cloudy and damp with outbreaks of rain. A few heavy pulses possible, certainly over high ground, and some low cloud hugging the Cumbrian Fells and the Pennines as well as we head towards dawn. You can see there's a band of quite intense showers as well by the time we reach tomorrow morning. All that combined means a mild night to come. 5:18 and 8:57 are your sun times for tomorrow. Quite showery, quite cloudy from the word go, but as the morning progresses and into the afternoon, we'll see a bit more sunshine and probably fewer showers, although if you catch one, could be on the heavy side. In between, there will be some sunny spells and temperatures around 17, so just above the average for the time of year, but quite gusty and blustery, especially in exposure once more over the hills for the coasts and for the Isle of Man. And still the risk of a few showers tomorrow evening. But as we head into Wednesday, we're hoping there'll be fewer showers, more in the way of sunshine, and again, highs maybe 15 or 16 Celsius. This system hopefully staying further south, so we could get 17 maybe if it does stay further south in parts of Cheshire, Nantwich for example. A few scattered showers. It stays mostly dry with a bit more cloud around on Thursday, and then high pressure building, we think, Friday into the weekend. Take care.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
2 sugars, please. Oh, lovely.
Kerry, thank you. Finally, let's raise a glass to Birkenhead's Paul Heaton, lead singer of the House Martins and the Beautiful South, who is 60 today.
Yeah, on our website you'll find details of the 60 pubs where Paul's very generously left money behind the bar for people to enjoy a drink to celebrate with him after a tough couple of years. All the pubs we've spoken to are delighted. They say drinkers turned up for early doors, so they didn't miss out. You can find that at itv.com/Granada. More details there.
Yeah, Paula, we salute you. Elaine has got the late news at 11 o'clock, but for now, have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.